Hello and welcome to Friday night on the Pinnacle Entertainment Channel. This is Savage Universe. We're coming here later in the week than normal, but that's because if you turned in last night, you got to see DM James running the amazing Altered Morality campaign. And I'm here tonight with Star Anvil Studio extraordinaire, Brandon, welcome to Savage Universe.
I get cool names, extraordinaire.
That's
I'll
right.
wait to see what's next time too.
That's right. I'll make it larger and larger as we go through. So we're here to talk about a Kickstarter you have going on right now. You wrapped up Starbreaker end of last year. And you were like, it is not good enough. I must immediately publish Star Marines. And if we would like to know more, which is the joke I've been making from the very beginning, would you like to know more?
Yes.
Tell us about Starbreaker Star Marines.
Well, what a large part of what made Star Marines happen was there was stuff I thought that doesn't fit with the Saints and Sinners sort of, undercover stuff. And I had this Star Marine stuff because I had run that as in that universe. So I said, that kind of got cut out. I said, it doesn't really fit here, at least, unless I rewrote the book in a much different manner. I have too much, so while the Starbreaker Saints and Sinners is it's both the setup of the entire world's lore and everything, is that heavy focus. So Star Marines was like, well, it'd be really cool I've run this campaign. I want to build it. I've got all this art. I've got a third of it written, and I have this other sector of space I can use. So it was 60% done. And I was like, well, why not? So here we are.
Well, and as somebody who has run more than a single session of Starbreaker Saints and Sinners, I'm putting the link in the show notes right now. I'm really excited about this. I love the Starbreaker setting. I love, Billy Berserker. I love the Nakira as well. I got to run several sessions for my playtest group here in Dallas. I got to run multiple sessions at conventions. I got to hand out cool things. I'm really excited to see that this property was not a one and done, and you are expanding upon it. So, well, first of all, congratulations. The Kickstarter funded basically immediately.
Yeah.
You've got 2 stretch goals down. You're well on your way to a 3rd stretch goal, and you have 20 days left. That's fantastic. That's a great, especially for a follow-up.
We did put a low bar to get it funded.
I know,
we wanted it done, but yeah, we did kind of get through that pretty quickly. I would love to. There's a couple more stretch goals I want to do if we hit this one that I would really think would make it cool. But I mean, we got the bulk of what I wanted there now, and if we could get more cool stuff, that would be really nice.
Yeah. You didn't get to play in any of those games, DM James, but I will make sure that you get to play in it at some point. I also got to. I mean, obviously, it's a little self-serving. I got to write Mission Bravo.
True. Which is now also on Fantasy Grounds as a VTT. They took Mission Alpha and Bravo and made it one thing with all the pre-gens, so you could play 2 whole missions right there.
I'm going to have to download that for my because I have Fantasy Grounds.
So do I.
So, question from Venkel: is Star Marines stand alone, or does it require the Saints and Sinners base book?
I honestly, it requires it, but you could work a lot of it without it. I mean, it has its own professions, but for example, the hypertech is still in there. So if you don't have the base book, you're not really going to have the full use of it.
It's an expansion.
It's an expansion. So yes, it's required. GMs could easily take a lot of the material and play it separately, but if you want to play it as part of Starbreaker, you should have the core setting. Yes.
Awesome.
So.
I can't. I need to order my Starbreaker book. I got to remember to do that. Yeah.
Shame on you.
Shame on me. So let's look at. So one thing that I think Star Anvil Studios is well known for in the Savage universe is the art that comes in the books. So let's talk about the art, and then we'll talk a little bit about what you get to play as a Star Marine.
Absolutely.
But check this out. I love this. We are the sword. We are the shield. Tell us about this guy.
So that's a combat engineer, hence all the pouches for carrying things like, explosives, tools, etc. and that's a plasma shotgun.
Fantastic. All right.
Your medic.
Combat medic.
Yep, gotta have that. Got a scan right there. Oh, look, your bones are breaking. Sucking chest wound. Nature's way of saying slow down.
That's right. I have had nature tell me pretty intently, I have to slow down. So I can appreciate having a combat medic around. I assume this is our heavy, our exo.
That's the exo that you can see that the Star Marine armor, they step into that. So that's not actually like a full, like you see where the feet step into it. That's, they can carry the weight of the gun and their small micro missile launcher, and that's their dual heavy. So Star Marines primarily have plasma weapons. That's their thing.
Okay.
Yeah, rapid deconstructionist, that is quite obviously part of their job, yes.
All right.
And that's your hypertech specializing in drones. Like, that's a combat drone that can go up and attack and fight for them, as well as a drone that can scout with. And anytime you see these screens float in the air, I'm pointing because like you can't see on the screen yourself.
Yeah.
Those aren't actually there. That's what they see on their screen as a virtual screen, but it looks cooler to show it that way. So they just look like they're crazy to everyone else, just reaching in the air. But
so I used to, I say used to, I still have all of my minis, and I would like to get a gaming group of this started down here. But I played a lot of Infinity when I lived in Colorado, and for a while they had on thin plastic sheets, you would cut them out and you would be able to glue them like just off the hand of your hackers, so it looks like they would have kind of the the augmented reality.
Yeah.
I love that. All right.
Well, that's your standard infantry. That's the standard armor, standard. That's your standard issue Marine.
Okay.
And that's an officer, telling people what to do.
Nice. Who is this guy?
That is a Psi Commando in full combat gear, which you don't, normally see a lot because they're always displayed as the after the war. That's a straight up Psi Commando with their, their Psi focus blaster on their arm and their grapple on the left arm, and
and the Psi Commando is one of the arcane backgrounds that you can pick in Starbreaker.
Yep. It's put in the Star Marines for completeness because that's already in the core book. So if you want to play it, you'd have to have the core book.
Right.
And that's recon, slightly lighter armor, for being a little quicker to move, and they have a little longer ability to range out in the world, but there you go, the archetype.
All right. So I mean this with the so I love your art. Mm-hmm. And I mean this with the greatest like respect here. There's a little bit of the Triax armor in.
Oh, that's absolutely what inspired it.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, no,
I don't want. I'm like, I don't want to. I wasn't trying
Triax. I said I can't make Triax armor, but I said, what do I like about it? And that's a certain iconic that single Cyclops eye they have, for example.
Yeah.
So I was like, well, I can't do that. Obviously, I can't copy what they have, but it inspired sort of that feel.
Yeah.
I was like, I kind of like that. I mean, Riff's art is largely the line art, Kevin Long's art.
That was going to say others, Kevin Long
was largely the inspiration for what I like in armor. So,
yeah, no, I love it. All right, so I assume all of those are archetypes we're going to be able to play.
Yeah, so they're all professions are all designed out so that if you want to be the combat engineer, I was going over Daryl with some of the design work. I said you got to make explosives and the ability to control them one of their primary abilities. We have it as an edge one way or the other. It's just where it's going to fall. There's certain starting edges. Like that should be a starting edge for them. It should be part of their core abilities. So, for example, we're still kind of tinkering with things a little bit, so we'll see how it looks in the final product here. It's pretty close. For example, like they can set an explosive and control the blast area to be smaller, but up the damage so they can blow through a wall, for example, and things like, that, which is, appropriate. You want to control the demolition so you don't blow up your friends. But they each have their specialty, and like we always tried to do in the first Starbreaker is anybody can learn how to make explosives in Savage Worlds. Like you can pick up some edges and MacGyver stuff, but you'll never be as good as the combat engineer unless you're a combat engineer. That
Right.
way your role matters. Yes, you can do these things, but if you want to be as good as them, you'd have to be that profession so that your role is important to you.
Yeah, I like that. So it's a little bit like the class edges in Savage Pathfinder.
A
Like,
little toned down, but
yeah,
yes, that is inspired by that. I actually, before Pathfinder came out, I had already worked up and done a whole thing just like that. These class edges, basically profession edges. And then it came out, and a lot of people seemed to kind of like, oh, I don't like that. I was like, they already do this in Deadlands. You just don't realize it. Deadlands has
right.
the what is it? Hexslinger.
Yeah,
That's built on a huckster, and it's a specific class edge. You have to have the previous edge for.
yep,
It's already being done. It's just not done to the extent like it was done in Savage Pathfinder.
yeah.
And I was like, well, that's what I like. It's like you can still pick all your edges, make your character custom, but you're really good at your thing. So anyway.
So we've unlocked. What were the first two stretch goals that you have unlocked at this point?
The first one was add the military scientist, which is a new profession, because
Yep.
I thought, let's not. We need to have that part of the story to be able to play something that's not just about the combat, but makes it interesting. You've got the med, now you got the scientist, and then the second one was to add the Kiftiri, which are the bird species, bird-like aliens.
And the one that you're closing in on?
That was already done.
Okay.
Oh, the one we're closing on?
Yeah.
That's going to be the one sheet by Daryl to add a fourth one sheet to the
Yes.
Kickstarter. So you got 4 adventures plus an adventure generator. I mean, you could sit down and when this comes out, you'll be able to play for if you play every other week, you got 2 months of gaming in there plus adventure generators. Play for a year.
I love the Savage Worlds adventure generator, so I'm really excited to see what you put in there for Star Marines. Now, obviously, Star Marines, we're going to look at inspiration for things like the Colonial Marines out of Aliens and Starship Troopers.
Mm-hmm.
Anything else that you would say, hey, this is a touchstone for Star Marines?
Well, I mean, Starship Troopers / Aliens, Colonial Marines are definitely some inspirations. I think that's probably the biggest inspiration. I mean, the main reason I included the Hive was to have some big bugs to fight. That's in the beginning of Starbreaker that they exist, was because that's a classic trope to go fight the bugs. But then, of course, they're also going to face the corporate worlds, and mercenaries and robots, and there's all sorts of, depending where you want to take your game. There's the whole question of sentient synthetics being in the military if they decide they don't want to be in there anymore. Yeah. Well, you've been what's the term? Not conscripted.
Press ganged, drafted.
Well, no, drafted. Yeah. Even if you're a citizen you can be drafted, and so they're considered drafted till they serve. That's meant to put the moral questions in there for your GMs to run and have this part of it. So, and there's a lot of stuff going on that can be there, but I try not to be too heavy with it so that everyone can kind of put it to the level in their game they want to.
Now, Billy wants to know, at $1 million, can we please unlock the Nakira Take Over the Universe supplement?
I'll personally write one just for him, and nobody else will ever see it, so it'll be unique.
But only if Billy is instrumental in getting you to $1 million.
Yeah, he's gonna have to get me to the $1 million first. Then
okay.
We'll talk about it.
Okay.
He asks that question every time. He's never gonna stop. He's hopeful.
Hey, listen, there are some people in the chat who bring up the romance companion every Savage Universe stream.
Listen,
so
he's been around so long that I sent him one of the posters I printed of the species from the game already. He has it hanging on his wall, so he's all right. He's okay.
Crip Wright likes the art as well. Yeah, I really dig the Starbreaker art. The companion. That's right, Crip Wright. So Venko wants to know, any combat aviators like in space above and beyond?
So I didn't do that. I didn't do that yet. It could be a stretch goal. It comes down to the kind of thing where, like, in Savage Worlds, when I play a lot, I tend to avoid space combat, flying combat, because of the way systems tend to work that a little bit. So I tend not to design that in the game because I don't see it played a lot. And I feel like a lot of people play pilots go, when do I actually get to use the skill? So it's kind of reflective of how I run the game. It's not there because I don't run it, and this is kind of like the world I want to play in. So it could be there, and I think people would love it. I feel like if I add that, I want it to be done in a way that players would find it useful to be that profession, and I haven't figured out how I would make that happen yet.
Yeah, that's fair.
So I want people to build, like, I want to use this, not just I have a cool skill that I don't get to use enough.
Kirkright, the answer to the Death Blossom is clearly the Last Starfighter.
Last Starfighter?
Yes.
Yeah,
Jody has not started work on the companion yet. As far
the
as
romance companion. Let's not do that one. Roll for romance.
Roll for romance. Kirkright, that needs to be a new T-shirt. Just so. I mean, obviously, Star Marines is funded, and we're going to get a Star Marine companion. What's next? I mean, do you have more Starbreaker?
Well, I mean, first, before we go on that, I'd like to point out that I think the big thing to remember about when I say Saints and Sinners, Starbreaker, or Star Marines, I don't just include just that. So, like, you could take Starbreaker, Saints and Sinners, and run any type of rogue of, standard exploration, standard campaign you'd run. Star Marines is set in the Siren Belt as a place for them to explore.
Yeah.
So you could take every your characters from Saints and Sinners and play them here too, because there's enough political stuff going on. There's enough background going on. There's the new aliens. It ties into the progenitors. It ties into the lore of the setting. It's very integral. So it's not like, oh, we play Star Marines and we don't really, it doesn't really tie into anything else. It's its own thing. It's not. It's really meant to, all the story has to keep making sense as a contiguous universe.
Well, and yeah, like you said, you could take your characters from Saints and Sinners and play them in the Siren Belt. You could, if someone dies, add a Star Marine in. You could start a brand new campaign with a Star Marine squad or a mix of Star Marines and Saints and Sinners.
You never know how it could get mixed up. Now, as far as what could come in the future, I really go back and forth between either expanding and detailing out the Rim worlds specifically, where all the Syndicate has power, because I think that's for the original book that where people would play the most with that, or go in and expand the corporate worlds, which hasn't gotten as much attention yet. And then of course eventually I want to come back and do the whole Star Systems Alliance, basically the Terran parts of space. And to me, it just keeps telling myself in my head, I'm just going to make that one book. Just take all that and make one book. So it's going to be rather big, because it would have to cover all three major parts of Terran space. And so hopefully, thanks, Cryptite. I want to put that all into a book. That's probably the project I want to get to, not next year, because I'm going to take a little break from Star Marines and go on to something else, but some other things coming up, and then come back to it again later. Give it some time to grow.
You're a regular on the.
I try. I want to keep making stuff and telling people.
We want to keep having you make cool stuff and posting cool art like this. What the hell is this?
Yeah, those are the humans just call them stingers, because that's literally what they do.
Right.
That big nice stinger at the end, or they spit acid. So they're sort of like ranged aerial attackers. If you look at the cover, you just have the previous page. If you have that art of that,
I do.
If you look in close, there's actually, of course, there's a giant picture of it. Maybe I didn't include that in the file, but that would actually show you, like, there's just one guy being stabbed through by the stinger right in the air,
right here.
Lifting him up, and in the very far background towards the center is the person, like, with their hand going out like this while there's another friend's being stabbed to death. Yeah, the Hive is rather brutal. I'd love to do a little expansion on the Hive and add some stuff with that too, because we've only got we got the Queen in there. The art for the Queen is in there too.
Let me see.
She's pretty freaking.
These are the.
That's Vizon, the corporate symbol, and those are just called leapers, because that's how they jump. They leap forward and attack you like killer grasshoppers of doom.
There's our Star Commando again.
Psi Commando.
That's
a corporate merc, standard corporate issued merc.
All right.
That's corporate.
APC.
We've just made the corporate world stuff pretty much all red to easily identify it as the Yeah, those are the worker bugs, but you still don't want to run into them.
I agree, Billy. Nightmare fuel, love it.
They give you a big kiss at night. There's the Queen. The little sort of like gem things you see on there. Those are beginning of some eggs that'll grow out in the little those will get put up on the walls.
So
Guesstimate.
who is the main artist for the Hive? Because I love these monsters.
So we have two different people did that. The Queen was done by Ben Worrell, but Zach Dolan did all the line work for the early bugs before he passed away. And then Lori Foster did the inks, and then Eva Roscoe did the colors. Now I have I think Kate did the colors for some of the that James, Kate. I can't remember who colored that bug. I'd have to go back and look. So I usually have like someone do lines, someone do colors, more of a traditional process because it speeds through the process too. So you do the lines, next person do the colors.
Yeah.
James Denton's doing a lot of color work for us now.
Awesome. I mean, it's a very sort of traditional like comic book style, right? Where it moves through the process.
Yep. It does speed things up a lot.
I'm glad to hear that because we're trying that with Amboria, the second Amboria book, and because of I thought that it might help speed up the process. So I'm glad to
as long as your artists are right on time, and I have some great people that are. Ben is incredibly like if he says it's gonna be done in a week, it's done in a week.
Oh,
James is like if he says I'm gonna have it done this week, barring unfortunate things that happen in life, he's done on the schedule he says he's gonna be done. That's why we're able to do what we do. The team of people I work with are all very extremely professional about hitting their marks on their times, barring some occasional real life issues, but they're still on the mark. We usually have wiggle room if something happens.
That's awesome.
Usually.
Well, I know that this one we're keeping this one a little bit tighter and a little bit shorter, but we're going to have you back on. I know for a fact that we're going to have you back on here, hopefully soon.
Probably next month with a big announcement.
May? Yeah. Oh, a big announcement in May. Everybody, cross your fingers.
I hope it's another license I've been working on for a while. No, Knights Arcanum is coming next year. That's why I say I'm not doing because I'm not doing Starbreaker next year again. I mean, I've got 2 books out for right now. That's pretty quick for a small thing. Knights Arcanum is definitely going to be on the slate for next year. Another Secret World book next year, and then the project which shall not be named until everything's finalized and I can come in and talk about it. But it's another license that we've been working on for a while with a really great partner, some fantastic people that I can't wait. Hopefully we can all be here together to announce it and say it's going to be amazing. I think it's amazing, but
I think it is.
You know what it is too.
I know what it is. But,
yeah.
I will try and coordinate that group of people and bring them all here together.
Hopefully they can make it.
Cripwright, they turned that into a whole movie. So, I mean, you've got that going for you.
Purple Crayon level. Well, I mean, that, if you make art, you are an artist. If you write, you are a writer. Whether people enjoy your art, writing or art is up to the observer. But
the reason I own a 3D printer, I've printed out a couple of things and one large piece, and that large piece is a
Purple Crayon.
No, it is a full scale D&D sailing ship, a boat.
Oh,
because if I try and draw a boat or an airship or anything, doesn't matter what I'm trying to do, it always ends up phallic. And so I just was like, I am willing to buy into the 3D printer so this never happens again.
You have some issues you should see someone about.
I do. I should. That's what all of my counselors keep telling me.
I think the biggest thing I like about the Star Marines thing is because we've tied it into the older lore. That was some of it was kind of cut and held out because again, too much background for the first book wasn't needed. I mean, the war was meant to set up the world and why it was the way it was. This is kind of bringing it back around to time back and like how that relates to the setting. So we're really just keeping the, everything exists for a reason and this makes this happen and that makes this happen kind of thing. And it will actually open up a possibility for something I'd like to do much later on with the lore too, for another expansion to the setting that would be almost like expanding to another galaxy.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
But I mean, it's to get there. I got other things I want to do first, but I have a long-term story arc and or stuff that can go into here. I mean, I have the progenitors. I mean, in the lore I've mentioned this before, were sent here a long time ago to colonize this galaxy. Someday those people are going to say, has our laborers produce fruit and want to collect on that.
Yeah.
And so that's there, but I don't want to rush to that part because we're just getting to explore this part. So I want to really detail out the galaxy as it is, build up the worlds, the peoples. I want to do what I'd like to do is the Terran worlds, the Terran space, then do the empires, the other galactic, the Vukolasai Union, the Arusan trade conglomerate, the Sceptred Empire. I mean, there's all these other they won't get a full book for each. I don't think I could quite do that, but I could put a lot more into them for that. And then after that, there's still a few things like smaller things to explore, like the Bounty Hunters Guild. You could do quite a bit with that and set up some smaller supplements for that. That would be neat to really dig in there. And then there's 2 plot point campaigns I'd really like to do. One's called Soldier Sinner Saint, which has a whole arc, and then the other one is leads to the progenitors and what caused all this to happen.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
That's enough right there. Anything past that, I can't think. That's like 4 years worth of work right there.
Yeah, you got an entire game line planned out.
Yeah, what I would love to see happen, and we'll see if it can happen. We need a few more people to start buying up Starbreaker. Get a few more fans out there, but it's new and we just reached silver this week on it on online sales. So
yeah.
That's over 100 sales of that directly, which is beginning to get up there, and so.
So we got a question. Any plans for more mystical elements, different alien psionic traditions, things like that?
Yes, but that would come with that other galaxy far, far away.
Awesome.
Because I want that galaxy to feel very different. Like you go from here to it would really essentially allow you to have 2 different campaigns. Like I want to play this type of campaign, but they're all related. That makes sense in the lore.
Yeah.
If I really want to play this way, I can go there, and they'll kind of commingle where the people want them to, but they're separate enough.
That's awesome. I can't wait. I need more Starbreaker. I need to order my physical copy of Starbreaker.
Yeah, and then you need to find, like, everyone needs to find who's back. Needs to find 10 friends to do it. And I mean, I think, let's see, before we log off here, because I know it's we got to go pretty soon tonight. Everybody's busy and all that stuff because I was late. Sorry about that.
Don't worry about it. I wasn't even going to mention it.
Well, I did. So we're at 114 backers and $4,166. So just like 800 and something bucks, we can have the 3rd stretch goal, and we're building up. That's great. I mean, it's always thanks, Crypt, right? Order 3 copies. Just order 10 copies each for everyone. Yeah, the alternate covers if you really want them. They're there because we could.
Awesome. Well, Brandon, thank you so much. I always enjoy hanging out and chatting with you. It's why we talk most every day.
Yeah, game stuff is fun.
So we'll be back with more Savage Universe next week. We actually have April's all booked up. May is starting to fill up. The Savage Universe train is leaving the station. So until next time, go out and play some Starbreaker, play some Savage Worlds. May all your dice ace. We'll be back next week with more Savage Universe. Have a good one, everybody.